Hello, Sylvanas. We're going to be talking about you today. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yay. Say hello to the camera.
What is up, my fellow gamers, geeks, and nerds? My name is Senny. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to be talking about Sylvanas, and this video is in no way justifying her or saying she did nothing wrong, because she clearly went a little overboard with the ruining of Teldrassil. But I'm going to be explaining her history and her character development up to the point where it would explain her reasoning and her beliefs about why this is necessary. So let's go through a brief history in time. So first starts off in Warcraft 2, she's fighting off against the Horde, led by Orgrim Doomhammer, and she fights them off. She shows herself as a valuable and formidable foe against the Horde. And then come Warcraft 3, she's not as lucky this time around. Arthas comes around, kills her, raises her as a banshee, makes her kill her own people, but is making her self-aware, so she's conscious of it all, so it's completely killing her her soul. And then she breaks free because Ner'zhul, the bond between Ner'zhul and the Lich King are weakening, so she manages to break free from her own group of undead called the Forsaken, because anytime she would try to make an alliance with the Alliance, they would just kill off her messengers because all they can see is undead monsters. So what's she to think? Like, all my old allies and my family think I'm monsters now, like I'm a monster now, like I'll never be accepted. They've forsaken her. So then she turns over to the Horde, and the Horde accepts her in. And before all that, she ended up reclaiming Lordaeron for herself and her undead followers, and her undead followers who are the dead residents of Lordaeron after Arthas sacked it. And then later on in Burning Crusade, she has made many offers to the Blood Elves to join them, but they never trusted her, obviously, because she's undead and they're being attacked by undead. But eventually they gave in and they let her help. And these are the kind of people, these are the people she died defending. And so you can imagine how personal she feels towards them. And after being rejected for so long, I don't know how she felt about that, but I don't imagine she felt too good. An adventurer, aka us, finds a necklace and Ghostlands. And then we bring it back to Sylvanas, and she seems shocked, but then it looks like she's wearing, it kind of looks like she just wears this mask and hides her true persona, you know. She tries to act all tough, and she says, "This means nothing to me, be gone with you." And then moments later, she picks it back up and she starts to sing this sad like tune in regards to Quel'Thalas and her old family and her old life. So that showed a weak spot that Sylvanas has for her old life and her family. She starts crafting the Plague, which in my opinion is just a weapon, just like any other force in Azeroth, whether it be a mage wiping out big parts of the army like they did in War of the Ancients, whether it be some fell magic wiping out big parts of armies. Druid magic, doesn't matter. In my opinion, it's just a weapon. People might have an issue with it because it's made by Sylvanas herself, I don't know, but in reality it's just a weapon. Sylvanas then gets betrayed by Putris and Varimathras, and the whole world is pointing fingers at her, which I'm sure would piss her off, but at the same time it's understandable why. But she's probably also feeling really pissed off because at Putris for not only putting herself but the rest of her Forsaken people in that position. So then they go and retake Lordaeron, and the Alliance, especially Varian, is disgusted with it. He says that the Horde needs to be put down. So they end up attacking the Horde, and then Jaina teleports them off. And then after Arthas is dead, at the top of Icecrown Citadel, Sylvanas hurls herself off because she feels like there's nothing left for her to do now. Her life goal is accomplished. And then while she's in there, she died when she landed on Serenite Spikes below. She has this vision of Garrosh leading an attack with her people against the city of Ogilneas, but he's not being very caring or about conserving his soldiers. He's just throwing them at the walls willingly, kind of thing, you know, like without any real purpose. So they're just falling one by one. And then she comes back to this empty, like, black void, and she feels fearfulness, terror, black, cold, hopelessness, and regret especially. And then of all people she sees there, she sees little boy Arthas, not Lich King Arthas, but little boy Arthas, and he looks lonely and afraid as well. She even admits to herself that if she had not had her soul twisted and torn, then she might have actually felt pity. And then the Valkyr come in, and one of them takes her place so that she can come out, and they make a pact to work together. And she goes to attack Ogilneas on Garrosh's orders, Garrosh is against her using the plague. He forbids her, but she goes ahead and does it anyway because, like I said before, it's just a weapon. And to her, her using that weapon is most effective as opposed to wasting more of her troops, because the whole point of her fight here is to conserve her troops, because she doesn't want them to go. If they die, that black void is the fate of all undead who die, and that is not what she wants for her people. So she's doing anything she can to preserve that. So I understand why she would want to use the plague. She goes to kill Gen Greymane and she shoots an arrow at him, but then his son, Liam Greymane, jumps in front, takes the arrow from him, and he ends up dying. And that's where Greymane's whole hatred for Sylvanas starts. He says, like, you killed my son, you attacked my city, this is war kind of thing, and that started this whole grudge. When she raises the dead, she gives them 3 options. You can either stay and serve the Forsaken, you can stay and live out your undead life as long as it's not going to be an opposition of the Forsaken. Like, if you threaten us, we're going to put you down. Or 3, you can just go back to the grave. Then at the end of MoP, we get the Warcraft's novel, and Verisa sets up a meeting with Sylvanas, and when they meet, Verisa tries to plan this assassination against Garrosh. And when Sylvanas asks her why, Verisa breaks down and says, like, he took my Ronin, her husband. And Sylvanas kind of opens her heart back up to her sister and lets that mask slip, and, you know, embraces her and says, we'll get our revenge. And then she plans. This part, I would say, is kind of not evil, but selfish, if anything. She goes to kill her sister because she realizes that her people, the dead, would never accept a living ruler, because the whole plan is that they said they wanted to rule together. They wanted to live and rule together in Undercity, and Verisa said, like, yeah, I can do that. I'm just gonna, like, have to leave my boys. And then, but this is when Sylvanas decides, I need to kill her because my people will never accept a living ruler. And Sylvanas can't join her because her people will never accept a dead ruler. So she thinks, basically, if I kill my sister, raise her as undead, we can be together forever and be reunited again as a family. And that's something she desperately wants. But then Verisa goes and turns her back on her, and she spills the whole beans of the assassination to Anduin. And this sets Sylvanas off over the edge to the point where she's killing beasts in the forest out of rage and just says, I'll never feel love again. And then comes the Broken Shore cinematic. Sylvanas is up on the ridge, and with the rest of the Horde leaders, they're all getting swarmed by demons, and you see Thrall calling away. You see Vol'jin get stabbed in the stomach, so she quick reacts, and she goes over to Vol'jin, and Vol'jin says, don't let the Horde die this day. So she blows the horn for the retreat, and they start retreating. And I don't know why people think she should have given some other kind of warning when that is the warning. You know, with everything going on around her, she's not going to be like, hey, Varian, by the way, Vol'jin got stabbed in the stomach. May have to leave. I'll be right back and let you know, okay? Like, that's not going to happen. And then the War Chief promotion, Vol'jin dies, and he says, many will not understand, but you must step out of the shadows and lead. That is still ongoing. I have no idea where that's going, and that has yet to be seen. And then when Sylvanas goes towards Stormheim to carry out her own goals on enslaving Aegir, she's attacked unprovoked by Gen Greymane, which is an open act of war, in my opinion. You know, you just went against your king's orders to not attack Sylvanas, and then what's the first thing you do? You go and try and blow up her ships with your own ships. That was an open act of war, but she kind of just fights them off, lets it slide, goes to do her thing with Aegir, and I can see how Gen might be justifying attacking Sylvanas as freeing Aegir or whatnot, but when he gets back to Stormwind, he doesn't get any kind of reprimand. He gets a little bit of a scolding from Anduin, but that's it. He just gets a little slap on the wrist. And don't do that again, Greymane. Another thing I want to bring up is the Three Sisters comic. In this comic, you know, she meets with her 2 sisters, Verisa and Illyria. Illyria, who she just found out she's alive after all these years. And, you know, she shows a bit of bitterness towards Illyria, saying, like, I was alone here in Quel'Thalas defending our land, our people, and I died doing that, and what were you guys doing this whole time? Then she decides to play this game with her 2 sisters, like, let's play 2 truths, 1 lie, and they basically have to figure out which one is a lie, you know. And it's fairly obvious which one is a lie for Sylvanas, because she says, I'm proud to be working with the Horde. I sometimes wish I was alive, and I will never betray you, my sisters. At the end of the comic, Varisa goes up to Sylvanas and says, I'm sorry, and looks like it catches Sylvanas off guard. And she says, like, I'm sorry for what I did, for backing out, and I know it must have hurt you, etc., etc. And then they get in their portals and they just, you know, go home. Then Sylvanas' Dark Rangers show up like, well, you never gave us a signal to attack. And she says like, oh, let them continue their miserable lives for another little bit. In the end, they'll all serve death. I think that this shows that she still has like a spot in her heart for her family, especially when it came to going down with the vicious act of killing her sisters to raise them as dead. She couldn't do it. She couldn't do it after her sister went and apologized, you know? So I think that still highlighted that there was some redeemable part of Sylvanas at that time. And before the storm, she shows sympathy towards her Forsaken, you know, on multiple occasions. While it doesn't admit it directly, it hints at it here and there, and it says like her voice went soft and she looked kind of like a little less stern or sad or whatnot. I can't remember the exact words, but it's there. She admits that leading is hard because the other races feel like she should be spending more time with them now that she's a war chief of the Horde, but now her own people feel like she's not spending enough time with them, so she's being torn all over the place. She thinks about certain leaders, how she respects some of them, and other ones she loathes, like Gallywix, which is understandable. I hate Gallywix too. Then the Desolate Council is formed, and what is she to think of this? Like, this other body of government within her own government is starting to rule and make decisions while she's not there. Who's the first person she's gonna think of exactly? Putris. She's gonna think, am I gonna have another Putris on my hands? So she's very weary of the Desolate Council, and then they have this meeting between the living and the dead for the families, and she's happy that some of them got rejected by their loved ones at first, because she's like, now they are with me, they can sympathize with me, they will identify with me, because like I know how that feels, and they know that I know how that feels, yada yada. And then some of them start to defect, and you know, it's understandable why she would kill the defectors, because like in any other civilization in our history, even our own civilization's history, anyone who defected got killed. That was just the way of life. So, and it even happens nowadays still in other countries around the world. Granted, it is messed up that she killed even the ones who were coming back, but she had said that she doesn't want to let them spread this hope around that, like, you know, I met my loved ones, yada yada. She doesn't want that false hope running around in her city, and I don't feel like they really explained that really well. In my opinion, I feel like they should have gone a little more in depth to explain like what could go possibly so wrong, but that's my opinion. But then Menethil is on the field, in the middle of the field, and does the dumbest move ever. Openly usurps against Sylvanas, saying, "Oh, Forsaken, follow me to like safety. I am the rightful leader of Lordaeron. I will lead you people." Blah blah blah. So what is any leader supposed to do with a usurper? They put them down. They kill them, and it's understandable. Like, this is 100% a justified move on Sylvanas' part, in my opinion, and you know, Menethil should not have done something that stupid. For the War of the Thorns, she says like that Teldrassil is a funnel point for Azerite, that they can safely transport Azerite to the Eastern Kingdoms, etc., etc., and they need to take that to stop the Alliance from gathering Azerite, because who knows when they might use it against them, kind of thing. And I feel like in the game they did not emphasize her real justification for doing this. So a lot of Horde players are saying like, why, like, that seems like a ridiculous reason. Why are we going to attack? I don't understand. Like, there's got to be something else. And you're right, there was something else. And the novellas that are being released with the physical collector's edition of Battle for Azeroth, there's like, she's sitting down with Varrock Sourfang, and Varrock says, "Why are you doing this? Why are you attacking?" He says, "You are not Garrosh Hellscream. Why do you want to throw the Horde into the meat grinder again?" And her eyes did not waver, even in the face of his rage. "If I dedicated myself to peace with the Alliance, would it last a year?" "Yes," Sourfang curtly said. How about 2 years? 5, 10, 50? And Saurfang felt the trap closing in on him, and he did not like it. We fought side by side against the Burning Legion. That creates bonds that are not easily broken. And she simply says, time breaks every bond. Her words flew like arrows. What do you believe? Will peace last 5 years or 50? And you know what? She's completely right, especially because of the history between the Horde and the Alliance. They've always had a tenuous pact. After the common big baddie was brought down, they always went back at each other's throats. You know, they have this like, history of violence together, and she's right. Like, she's right to be weary about a peace with the Alliance. He leaned forward too, his face inches away from hers. Neither blinked. What I believe doesn't matter, War Chief. What do you believe? And she says, I believe the exiles of Gilneas will never forgive the Horde for driving them away. Yes. I believe the living humans of Lordaeron think it is blasphemy that my people still hold their city, despite the fact that some of the undead inside Undercity are Lordaeron citizens, just undead. But I can understand why the living would think this, because the living hate the dead. I believe the ancient divide between our allies in Silvermoon and their kin in Darnassus is not easily mended. And then, this is true, like, long ago, the Night Elves, a faction of the Night Elves broke off because they wanted to use the Sunwell power, something like that. If I'm wrong, let me know down below, but then they ended up traveling towards the Eastern Kingdoms. They went north, and that's when they settled in Silvermoon, and they made their Sunwell and everything, and that's when they became Blood Elves. I believe the Darkspear tribe hasn't forgotten who drove them from their islands. I believe every orc your age remembers being imprisoned for years in filthy camps, wallowing in despair and surviving on human scraps. You know, I mean, the orcs did cause an invasion, but I can understand why the orcs would be bitter about that kind of treatment. I believe every human remembers the tales of the terrible horde that caused so much destruction in its first invasion. Okay, there it is. And I believe they blame every orc for that, no matter what you people have done to redeem yourselves. This is true. No matter what they've done to redeem themselves, the Alliance always comes back and says, you monsters, you should all be wiped out. And I remember very well that my first Forsaken were once loyal Alliance citizens. Yeah, we died for that banner, and our reward was to be hunted as vermin. And it's true. For the longest time, Sylvanas was trying to survive with their people. They've broken free, but the living did not want to see that. They did not want to care. They just saw undead, and they just went after them. I believe that will be no permanent peace with the Alliance. Understandably why. Not unless we win on the battlefield on our terms. And believing that, answer this, Saurfang, what use is delaying the inevitable? So she's saying, if we attack first and break their spirits and make sure that they will never think about attacking us again, then we've won. Like, yeah, her reasoning makes sense, but what she's planning is risky. It is very risky. The boy in Stormwind will not start a war tomorrow, Saurfang said. Her eyebrows lowered. With Gen Greymane in his ear, we will see. And that is exactly so true. Like I said before, Greymane did an open act of war against the opposing faction leader. And she's remembering this, and she has a right to be weary about the Alliance at this point because of that. That was a concern. Saurfang had to concede. In the thick of fighting against the Burning Legion, Greymane had launched a mission to kill Sylvanas. It had gotten some of Stormwind's few remaining airships destroyed. There were whispers that Greymane had ordered the attack without Anduin's permission. True. But as far as Saurfang knew, Greymane had not been punished. True. The implications of that were troubling, and every possible explanation led to the same conclusion. The old Worgen would always drive the Alliance toward war against the Horde. Like, even Saurfang admits it here. Saurfang. And he's like, as long as Sylvanas is alive, as long as the Horde are living and everything, like, the Alliance is never going to leave us alone, you know? Whether it be through acts of violence or through, like, spying or whatnot. And then we get to the burning of Teldrassil itself. And it even says, Noble here says that unfortunately the last moments, the kill onto Saurfang, meaning when Sylvanas was fighting Malfurion, and Saurfang did that dishonorable blow against him, and deciding to burn the World Tree. He says that The motivation for burning it is described as inflicting the wound that Malfurion's death should have suffered. So she burns the tree literally because Saurfang couldn't finish the job of killing Malfurion, which was supposed to do the job of what she wanted, break their spirits, but because he failed to do that, now she had to improvise, which is burning the tree. Where I think she should have done something a little differently here is maybe given the citizens a chance to evacuate. I think burning their home itself would have been devastating to them without the need to kill all the civilians. That's just personally, but I don't know what Blizzard is planning on with her here. But since Saurfang refused to kill him, she had to do something else, and at that moment decided to give the other. Saurfang screams for them to stop firing. This is not their way. This is not what he signed up for, but it was already too late. Saurfang is feeling, I wonder if he's feeling regret here because this is all happening now, the burning of the tree, because of his decision not to kill Malfurion. Like I said before, this does not justify Sylvanas' actions, but it at least explains her actions, and I'm happy with that at least. At one point, it hints that she has ulterior motives. It hints that Sylvanas either knows something or has ulterior motives, because there are several hints at larger forces and stories at play in A Good War. So Nathanos finally spoke up and said, "And it will give you a chance to hunt Malfurion alone, War Chief." The look in Sylvanas' eyes gave Saurfang pause. She was more annoyed than he would have expected. If the Horde managed to kill both Tyrande and Malfurion, yes, it would be a great victory that would weaken the Alliance, but the objective was supposed to be conquering the World Tree. That wedge would split the Alliance no matter who ruled the Night Owls. Saurfang considered, not for the first time, that Sylvanas wasn't telling him everything. And then during the Battle of Darkshore, Sylvanas notes, perhaps he will find a glorious death on the battlefield before he ever had to face a choice that would destroy him. Or maybe the old orc would surprise me, she thought. Maybe he will face the world as it is and choose to fight onwards at my side. If he doesn't, well, that can wait. And as Sylvanas plans to invade Teldrassil, annoyed by Saurfang's decision to spell Malfurion, she hints at her true motives. Elune had intervened. Perhaps she had even stayed Saurfang's killing blow, and she wouldn't be the only force beyond the Alliance to oppose Sylvanas' true objective. Sylvanas' anger grew cold. She had known this would happen. It had simply come sooner than expected. That was all. Is she targeting Elune? Is that what she's going after now? I don't know. There's a lot more to be seen in BFA, and all this is just to show that she has reasons and explanations and motives to go ahead and do this attack. Now, granted, I'm not 100% on board with the burning of the tree, killing all the civilians. That was a little too much for me to handle. I'm in no way making this video to justify Sylvanas' actions. This is just a video to help explain her character development and reasons for wanting to do all this. Anyways, that's the video today, guys. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you like my channel, hit that subscribe button, and I hope to see you guys around here in the future. Thank you for coming by, and I'll catch you guys next time.